G'day race fans, it's that time of year where we rate your favourite 2025 Formula One drivers from 21st to 1st. And I'm sure we are going to make a few fan bases extremely furious out there with ranking your favourite drivers much lower than expected. Mate, from the bottom of the barrel, 21st. 21st. So I'm going to allow you to start off, and who have you got for, well, the worst rated for the season?
You know, throughout the whole season, each driver performs relatively well given the equipment that they're in. But I'm going to have to say Doohan. I've given him a 4 purely because we didn't see enough of him, and what we did see, unfortunately, was in a car that wasn't great. He is 21st.
Yeah, I agree. I've got Jack Doohan. I've given him a score of 3. Unlucky in a way. He started the season really with a lot of pressure on him with the whole Franco Colapinto rumours swirling around. So tough gig, few big accidents, and it just didn't gel for him. All right, 20th position. Who you got?
Sir Lancelot, Lance Stroll. I have probably been a little bit too nice, but I've given him a 5. His first and his last races were his 2 best races of the year. So Melbourne and then Abu Dhabi. Just think he's had a mediocre season. Yes, the car hasn't been great, but when you compare to what his teammates be able to do when the car has been at a circuit that's competitive, it just hasn't been good enough.
I've got Yuki Tsunoda with a 3.5, and the reason being is 5-year experience, hopped into that hot seat. Unfortunately, it did not work out for Yuki Tsunoda, and it has, in essence, derailed his career for now. All right, P19.
I have Franco Colapinto.
Franco.
The reason I've got him 19th is because he's one of only a few drivers that didn't have a DNF the whole season. Yes, he had accidents, but it wasn't during the race. So that's why I've been a little bit kinder to him. He did improve a fair bit after the summer break, but to be honest, with the length of time he's had, has he shown more than what Doohan could have? I don't know. So that's why I've given him a 6.
6, man. Mate, we are like...
I'm like way too nice, man. You're like ruthless.
You're extremely lenient. I'm pretty ruthless.
Good cop, bad cop.
well, I'm on the same level with you. I've got Franco Colapinto at P19 as well, 3.7. There were moments that he did show some improvement, particularly after the summer break where he was matching Gasly, but then it fell apart again. But in essence, when it did fall apart, he wasn't putting it into the wall. Jury is still out whether he deserves a seat in 2026.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
Okay, P18.
Oh, Esteban Ocon. I've given him a 6.3. I just expected more for him, given his experience. And he actually went to a team where the car was better than the team that he left. We saw how good that car was after Austin, and we saw what Ollie was able to do in that car. Ocon, substandard year, man. You didn't deliver.
Yeah, I've got Lance Stroll with a 4.3. And the reasons being is much like you suggested, in comparison to his teammate, pretty poor. Started off with a hiss and roar, ended with a bit of a hiss and a roar, but everything in between was a bit soggy. So that's where poor old Lance is. But hopefully he is more motivated for next year with potentially a Newey and Honda rocket. P17, who you got?
Young Yuki Tsunoda. He just did not do enough. We didn't see enough. And I've been nice to him and given him that spot because it's a cursed second seat and everybody knows it. So I've given him a 6.4.
Esteban Ocon with a 5.1. He was the team leader of Haas. And I feel Ollie Behrman got the better of him. P16.
Yep. Gabriel Bortoletto. I've given him a 6.5. Look, for me, just sort of struggled to find his feet, mainly at the start of the season. Came good in the middle, but then he's fallen away again at the end of the season. And I believe that car was pretty stout for the majority of the season.
Great minds think alike, as they say. I've got Gabby Bortoletto at 5. Well, I've scored him at 5.5. There was a moment there where he put some really good performances together. That state car did come alive near the end of the season or after the summer break. Just needs to work on his consistency, but you got to be lenient to a rookie. You have to show a bit of lenience.
Yeah, of course.
All right, P15.
I've got Nico Hülkenberg.
Hülkenberg.
I've given him a 7. Inconsistent Season for me, start of the season, some good points. Drifted out, a string of races with no points.
Well, the podium was the Everest, wasn't it?
Well, that was it, right? And then we saw nothing for a while. Had a pretty stout end to the year. So just the consistency for me, I gave him a 7.
I've gone with Lewis Hamilton. I've given him a 5.9, and it might be quite, you could say, controversial, particularly to the Lewis Hamilton fan base. But I expected a lot more from him. I was lenient at the start to give him X amount of races to get up to speed with the machinery, but I felt it came far too late. And I do worry about him for 2026. I hope he's motivated. I hope he has a good offseason. And I hope he comes back and smashes the start of 2026.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
P14.
Done. Game over. Screw you.
Mate, the comments might be fired up on that one.
P14, Liam Lawson. I've given him a 7.1. Look, he had a shocking start to the year. That's the worst way to start a season. He showed some good mental toughness. He did not complain once. I hope he brings out a book because I'd love to hear the inside story of what happened.
When he retires.
When he retires, it will be nice and juicy. He's struggled with one-lap stuff, right? And he ended up getting himself caught up in a few skirmishes with other drivers. So for me, I've given him a 7.1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got Liam Lawson as well with a 6.1. Yeah, I'll just reiterate what you said. Horrible start to the season. Demoted after those 2 races. In my mind, quite unfair. Never got to show his worth. Very much down in the dumps, but I love his grit and determination to then bounce back. Yep, the one-lap pace stuff, the qualifying on the Saturday was really his Achilles heel. Wasn't quite consistent. The categories. Teddy. Down, Ted. Thank you. Needs to be more consistent on the Saturday. But I felt that back end of the season, he was pretty competitive. He even outscored Hadjar from, I think it was Austria on the points. 2026 is going to be massive because the Racing Bulls are going to expect big things from him.
Starting to step into that Yuki Tsunoda territory, right? He's going to be the experienced head in that team. But we've always said, I won't delve into it too much, but a solid preseason in the one car and a full season in the one car is going to be a lot better next year.
P13.
So P13 for me, I have gone a young Oliver Behrman. Take away those silly rookie mistakes which he made, and they were shockingly bad.
Well, the pit lane entry one was Silverstone, I think it was.
That's terrible, right? But he showed if the car's competitive, which we saw from Austin, he can hold his own, like we saw in Mexico. Perfect example of that, and I think he's a solid little race car driver, and I've given him a 7.2.
Also, just an interesting stat, I think he's the only Haas driver that has scored points in 5 consecutive races.
There you go.
There you go. Well, I have Nico Hulkenberg with a 6.3. P3 was obviously the Everest. I keep saying it. And then he kind of checked out. But then I liked his fight near the end of the season. He started to get qualifying under control because that was the Achilles heel through most of the season. Nico and the team with maximizing strategy, I would say over the course of the season, they had some really good results by just getting the strategy right. So P12.
Young Alex Albon. I've given him a 7.3. Look, he's the main reason they finished 5th in that Constructors' Championship, without a doubt. That start of the year he had was mega. But it was just the back end of the season. Felt like he fell away. He made some silly mistakes in qualifying. For whatever reason, he fell away and his teammates stepped up. So for me, I've given him a 7.3.
All right, I've got Ollie Behrman. I've given him a 6.4. I like where Ollie Behrman's career is heading. Man. I actually think he will be a Ferrari driver in 2027. But a solid year for a rookie. As you mentioned, some silly mistakes. When the car was dialed in, he was quick, man. He was definitely quick. P11.
Another rookie, young Kimi Antonelli. I've given him a 7.4. Now, we saw how good he was at the start of the season. But for me, it was the way he bounced back after that really, really poor European leg. To come back the way he did and had that end of the season, he justified why Toto signed him. 100%. He's a good little race car driver. And for me, I've given him a 7.4.
I've given it to Pierre Gasly. You've overstayed your welcome. Pierre Gasly, 6.5. He scored all of Alpine's points, all 22 of them. He showed some really good pace. He made quite a handful of Q3 appearances. And in the Alpine, I thought that was pretty damn impressive. Not quite cracking the top 10 for Pierre, but not far off as well. Top 10 now. This is where things get serious. All right. P10.
I have gone with a 7.5, the Honourable Sir Lewis Hamilton. Now,
Ooh.
yes, he did struggle with the car, but he did finish in the top 10 more often than not. He did technically get Ferrari's first and only win of the season. The back end was not good. It was terrible, but I don't think it was as terrible as what it was made out to be in a car that Ferrari had delivered for the year. 7.5 and on the edge of the 10. Just ahead of Kimi Antonelli because he did beat him in the championship.
Hey,
luckily.
good point.
If he didn't, he would have been last.
Mate, would have been, the optics of that wouldn't have looked great.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like it was made out to be a lot worse than probably what it was in the background because there's so many rumors.
So you definitely didn't like my
talk.
P15. You definitely did not like my P15.
That's why I said it was game over. I'm not talking to you anymore.
All right, I've got Alex Albon with a 6.7. Good start to the season. Yes, he outscored Carlos, but I just feel for an experienced driver from that mid-season point or just before where, yes, there was some things out of his hands, bit of bad luck, but it was just like he just couldn't claw it back, which worries me for 2026 with Albon's history. He cracks the top 10 because he had a stonking opening half to the season. I think that's what saved him.
Yeah, that's what saved him for me as well. Like, I think if he started the season the way he finished, he would have been down the bottom for sure.
P9,
I have gone the rookie, Isaac Hadjar, probably more based on the first half of the season. He was like lights out. He was amazing. Given the car that he was in, it's a lesser car than, say, someone like Kimi Antonelli. He faded a little bit towards the back end of the season, but I think that's more car related. That car, we discussed it, more race pace, where they seem to struggle. The one lap stuff, he always seemed to deliver. The car seemed to be a lot better there. So for me, I've given him a 7.7.
Is he your highest rated rookie?
Yes, he would be.
There you go. Okay, I've got Kimi Antonelli with 6.8. Did a great job at the start of the season. Had a unfortunate European leg where things went a bit pear-shaped, but I loved how he was able to then bounce back. For a rookie, Toto Wolff has a gem on his hands with Kimi. P8.
So P8, Pierre Gasly.
Ooh.
I've given him an 8.0. Look, man, for me, he outperformed that car all year. All year, hands down. He had those 10 Q3 appearances, which that car was not good enough for. Unfortunately, he had some bad luck. So every time he seemed to qualify in the 10, he seemed to get taken out. Well, that's how it felt anyway, especially in the back end of the season. I felt like he drove better than the results showed. In a shitty car, one of his better seasons in Formula One. So I've given him an 8.0.
All right, I've got Isaac Hadjar with a 6.9. Well, who could forget the embrace with Anthony Hamilton and then the remarks from Helmut Marko being quite brutal about it. But he just bounces back. I like the kid. He has a lot of natural speed. I'll bring up what you said. You felt that he sort of faded in the back end. I think part of that was probably more the optics of it, of Liam perhaps closing the gap. Yeah. But I still feel Isaac Hadjar, he has a high ceiling.
Oh, man, for sure. But for
bright
me,
future. Bright future.
I don't think it's so much he faded as in his driving ability. I think it was more the car from both sides of the garage. Race pace, remember, was never really that good towards the back end of the season. But for whatever reason, the quali pace was good. And both guys managed to get it right. And Hadjar, more often than not, managed to get it inside the 10.
Yeah, the qualifying was immense. And who could forget that P3 podium at Zandvoort, if my memory serves me correct.
He was mega, man. Like, he was so good.
P7.
Now I've gone for the old dog, the oldest man on the grid, Fernando Alonso, in a terrible car when the car was on circuits that suited that car. He always delivered. He
The
was
wily old
always-
dog.
Exactly. Always in and around the 10, especially in qualifying. It's just the race pace let him down. Every time the car allowed him to, he could maximize and extract the performance out of it. So I've given him an 8.1.
All right, I got Carlos, the smooth operator, Sainz, 7.3. I liked what he did. He was able to get, 2 podiums for the season? It's 2 or 3? 2. Qualified well. Yes, that first half of the season was underwhelming, but I will give him leniency coming into a new team, new machinery, new environment, and basically he drove the doors off it in that second half and blew Albon out of the water. So
Yep.
he's looking good for 2026. P6.
I have got the prettiest man on the grid, Charles Leclerc.
Here we go. In the comments.
Based just on looks alone, I've given him an 8.2. No, look, man, I just think the 7 podiums I had in that bad car, the way he is in qualifying, I think he outperformed what that Ferrari could deliver. We always saw it in qualifying. So for me, 8.2.
I've got the wily old dog in P6 with a 7.5, and I'll just basically plagiarize. He just got the most out of the car when it allowed him to, and it was so track specific, that Aston Martin. Fingers crossed. I'd love to see Fernando win another race, and my fingers are crossed that Newey and Honda and Aston Martin can just pull something out for 2026, because that would be,
I'll tell you what,
immense. And let's not forget, 2006, right, was his last championship. So next year, 20 years. I mean, his last win, I think, may have been 2013 with Ferrari. Yep. So, look, we're already over a decade since his last win. P5, top 5 now. Here we go.
The smooth operator, Carlos Sainz. New team, some bad luck at the start of the year. And I think at the start of the year, he was better than the results showed. And at the back end of that season, mate, he made his experienced teammate look pretty ordinary. You know, he clawed his way back up in that championship ladder too. So, yeah, I think it spells trouble for Alex for next year. So I've given him an 8.3.
Okay, I've got Oscar Piastri. 8.5 I've given Oscar. Now, this is obviously controversial, could be debatable. It was the downfall from, it started off with the Monza switcheroo for the old pit stops, and then Baku. And then that was essentially the downward spiral. He was winning this championship quite comfortably. I think peaked at 35 points, but unfortunately went backwards from that point, particularly from Baku. P4.
Oscar Piastri with an 8.4.
Hey, exactly we're starting to level out a bit here with the scoring.
Starting to level out. Look, that first half of the season was mega. You're in your 3rd year and you're fighting for a championship. Yes, you are in the best car, but still to be fighting like you did up until, let's say, exactly right, Monza, where the wheels started to fall off. Then you made some mistakes. You probably felt some of the pressure. The Azerbaijan incident, for me, I've given him 4th with an 8.4. I don't know what 2027 holds for him with the whole driver market and the rumours that are swirling around, but I tell you what, people will be throwing the checkbook at him because he has proven that he will one day be a world champion.
Charles Leclerc, 8.6. He's my P4. And I'm just going to reiterate what you said again. I just think he outperformed the machinery, plenty of Q3 appearances, plenty of podiums, just extracted out of that tractor.
Yeah.
We'll just call him the farmer. His 1 lap pace, qualifying pace, has always been immense. And yes, he potentially is the best looking dude on the grid. P3.
P3. I have gone Lando Norris with an 8.5. Now, pretty obvious. It was a season of 2 halves, right? We had the first half of the season where he struggled, made some mistakes, especially in pressure moments. He couldn't deliver in qualifying. But that last half of the season after Zandvoort, it was like a pressure release. And for me, that's where he flicked the switch. He came alive. He delivered pretty much every time out, every time he was in the car. When it counted. That's why he's my P3 with an 8.5.
He's my P3 as well, but with an 8.8. Yeah, I agree. The start, I wouldn't say he's struggled at the start. Look, he won the season opener, but there were moments, like you said, where the big moments he wasn't quite nailing. And then, yes, all the Lando bottles it, all that type of stuff reared its ugly head. But then he, just turned it around. And I'd love to know what he really did. When he walks away from the sport, perhaps he brings out his book, but we may know the exact details of what that switch was. You suggested it was Zandvoort. Basically, from that point, he had nothing to lose. But I suspect there were some people on the side there that helped him through. And I don't mean that in like the McLaren gearing everything up for Lando. I mean that in a way of like maybe sports psychology or something. I have a feeling there was something there that just gave him the edge. P2. Well, we know where this is going. I know where this is going here. It's got to be.
Max Verstappen.
Hey, yo.
Oh, look, quite simply, very easily could have been my number one.
Okay.
Spain. Let him down for me. But start of the season, clearly outperformed that car. So good. Then we saw what happened in the second half of the season when Red Bull kept delivering the updates, mate, to finish the championship only 2 points behind. Oh, mate. Like, honestly.
Let's remember, what was it, 112? He raked in 105 or something? It was, big.
The only reason he didn't get my number one spot is because of Spain.
Okay, I've got George Russell with a 9.0. I just think he was just so consistent. And that Mercedes wasn't always super quick at certain tracks. It's just one of those guys you could depend on, that you knew that he would be sniffing around in qualifying and he would be sniffing around for a podium the majority of the time. Well, it's pretty obvious now. We're going to flip it. Your P1, Mr. Russell.
Yep, and for that exact reason. For me, every weekend, if that car was good enough for first, it was first. If it was good enough for fourth, he was fourth. If it was good enough for third, he was third. He just extracted every single weekend, led that team from the front, deserved his contract extension, upgrade, whatever you want to call it. He was mega, man, really, in a car that was not the quickest car on the grid. And I think I said it halfway through the season. He was, at that point, my driver of the season.
Yep.
And it hasn't changed. I just think, mate, you've done a mega job in a car that wasn't the quickest on the grid.
Well, I've got Max Verstappen, 9.5. I think this was one of his most impressive seasons.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't walk away with the championship. He missed out by 2 points. Yes, the brain fade in Barcelona wasn't great. I don't think that was necessarily the thing that cost him the championship. We've explained before, there's so many moments and moments within moments, right? So there's a lot of little pieces that go into winning a championship. I just think he was just so immense. And those big moments when the pressure was on or he needed to get the result, he could deliver. And that's what I think sets Max apart from so many drivers on the grid.
Except in Spain, when the pressure was on, he had a brain fart. And that's why number 2. But look, I can't disagree with any of them, man. So well done to you. Good job.
Yeah, well done to you too. I think there was just a bit of favoritism on, Hamilton's side. You gave him a good old pump with the
mate, there's no biases here on the Ground Effect podcast. What are you talking about, bro?
None at all. But I'd love to hear everyone at home. I'd love to see where they would rank most of the drivers, and I'd love to hear the thoughts on what we got right and what we definitely got wrong, because there will be a lot of that.
Which will probably be
quite a bit.
20 out of 21. I think we got wrong.
Yeah, not sure about the hit rate on this one. But overall, when we look at the grid of drivers, I think it's a very competitive grid. And I just think when you look from the rookie perspective, all the rookies performed. There's no one on the grid where I look at them and go, they should not be on the grid for next year from the rookie perspective. And
I think from all of them.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fair comment, man, to be fair.
Even Lance. You think Lance?
Oh, all right. You might have got me there.
Lance on his day is pretty decent.
This is the problem, right? Lance just needs to learn to have more on his days.
Yeah. I think he just needs maybe an attitude adjustment of, putting his best foot forward.
Well, half the time he just doesn't look interested. And I think that's change that mindset. Yeah. Get involved, get amongst it. And you might find you might just start to pull a little bit more, or people might not just judge you being on like you're a daddy's boy. You don't really care.
Yeah,
That's the way you act.
Speaking of getting involved, if you like the content, give us a big thumbs up. We are still racing towards, well, we've actually slowed down a little bit, but we are trying to get to our first target of 500 subs, so it would be greatly appreciated. And Mick, as we always do, nothing has changed. You have the final thought, you lucky bugger.
No, look, man, one of the tightest seasons since the start of those regulations. We say goodbye. I think every driver on the grid has had their day throughout the season. I cannot wait for 2026, because if it's this close between these drivers, plus the rookies now with a year in, mate, it is going to be spectacular. Like G said, make sure you like and subscribe. Until then, catch you in the next one.
Catch ya.